Very good morning, my dear friends. We have been continuing our topic on embedded system design, where we have been seen at length in the previous classes about the aspects of the embedded system and then its small designs and how it has been making use of for the for the modern day world. So now let us see. I've been discussing about the real-time application of the operating system, where one has to see that they learn the meaning of a task. When you talk about the operating system, we have been submitting a job or a task which has been an event has been given to the system to fulfill the task. So the task has been very, very important, how we have been assigning the task and what sort of task has been assigned to the system has been very important. So one has to know the what is a task and then learn the meaning of a real-time handling of multi-tasks. A task can be submitted parallelly to the system, which has been called to handle multiple tasks. How the operating system can resolve these tasks simultaneously. So this has been very important to see that the synchronization problems should not occur so that the system will be able to take out the task and give the results. So learn the simplification of the system design on the real-time operating system. So we have been know the real-time operating system, how the time sequence has to be maintained so that the synchronization can be obtained so that there are not any crash in the data transfers. So that's been very important what we could see that the operating system has been plays a greater role, which is a heart of the system. To understand the functions of RTOs, kernel using an example of RTOs. So therefore, the kernel has been used and where we have been employing a key software which has been extensively used in this embedded system. So the real-time application where the key software will work has been very, very important. Learn how inter-process communication helps in synchronizing the running of the task using the system semaphores and the mailboxes, signals, etc. Because as you know that when you talk about the communication, we have been sending the messages, we have been communicating between the two processors, we have been communicating between the tasks assigned, we have been communicating between the users through mailboxes. Similarly, how a variable can be shared, is it a global or a local? The semaphores has to be designed, they have to be defined there and with their signals. So without signal, we cannot able to transfer any of the communications. So therefore, these are very important factors where I could see that the pupil has to look into a real-time operating system and its design so that it's been so precise and one has to be very, very careful in designing and we have to properly think and we have to see what is the future scope of the operating system, how it has to be modified for what purpose and what is the task assigned, what are different tasks is going to assign or it is going for a multitasking system. Therefore, the ATAS has been so very, very extensively used in the embedded system. So let us see in the next what we could see that how to classify the operating system is that the one is called a batch processing and the authors defines in a different ways. One I could see that in one of the textbooks what people have referred is that when a task has been assigned, like the batch processing, suppose I am using higher level language, I have been using Pascal, somebody using a C language, somebody using a C++ language, somebody using a Fortran, whatever it may be. And when these tasks have been assigned by different users to the system will segregate into the programs of C separately, programs of C++ separately, programs of Pascal separately like that, so that the task, the particular compiler can be loaded to translate the given program into a course, which is really understandable by the system. So therefore, the batch processing is one where we have been pooling up the tasks of similar nature so that the task can be assigned to the system with a compilers fixed onto that point. So therefore, the compilers gives the syntax errors, or we can remove some of the errors there, and then it can go for linking and then debugging. So therefore, once the program has been written like that, it will be known to us that the particular task has been under execution. So similarly, I can say one more example is that we have been giving print statements periodically into the program. So print means data access IO device, which is very sluggish and slower. Therefore, the system understands that there is a lot of print statements into the program. Then it segregates all the programs of different users, which has been having a print instruction will be segregated and will be executed at a later stage when there is no peak time for the system. So therefore, the pooled tasks will be very, very important to understand that a batch processing can be adopted into batch-wise systems will take care of the instructions and then executes depending upon the suitable compilers. Similarly, offline processing, when you talk about offline, is when data has been collected and will be given for processing at later stage with a delay, so that the result need not be very important immediately to take care of. So like electricity bill. What we do is metering will be taken care of, and then the meter will be noted down, and then later on a bill will be prepared. After that, the bill will be supplied to the consumer for payment. So therefore, there's no immediate necessity to go for online. Therefore, it can be leisurely done with a sort of a delay, so that it has been called as the offline processing. So offline processing has been nowadays is not used. The people have been going for mostly and online for every aspects of the system. So online processing, when you talk about a nuclear reactor, so as and when a signal arrives, as and when a signal information comes over there, it has to be sampled and then has to be processed immediately, and decision has to be taken care of. Because if you talk about the nuclear reactor, fission and fusion reactions have been there, which has been is crossed beyond some threshold, there is a collapse of the nuclear reactor. Therefore, to save the reactors, one has to be very, very careful. As and when a sample comes, it has to be processed and has to be decision making has to be taken immediately, so that we can save the reactor. Similarly, generator protection. So I cannot lose my sample value. Every sample is very important for me. So therefore, sample has to be collected and monitored properly for every instance of time, has to be processed and decision has to be taken care of, so that we can save the generator. Similarly, n number of examples I can quote here on online processing. Similarly, your cellular system. So where I want to talk to my people immediately, it has to establish communication between these two users. So like that, a real-time processing, when you talk about, so there's a slight difference between online and real-time. What I could see that the real-time, when you talk about, I have collected sample, it is under processing. Meanwhile, a text sample comes, it has to be suspend this previous process and go on collect the next sample value, because it may have intelligence share what is going into the system. So therefore, it is very, very important for me to save all sample values. So therefore, I have to suspend the first process, sample value, and store single sample, then come and continue the first process and give a decision making. So whereas in online, as and when a sample comes, before the next sample arrives, we'll be giving a decision making. So therefore, this difference between what I could see is that online real time goes together, and almost a loose word I can say everything is a real time and online. A task is a set of instructions which are used to perform the actions or set of actions controlled by system software. What is a task now? I have been assigning a task means I have been giving a program. What is a program? Program contains a number of instructions, and it has to be understood by the system later on after decoding. So therefore, the task is nothing but a program prepared by the users or the system engineer to perform the software. In multiple tasks where these tasks are performed simultaneously, so I can see that a multiple task, what I said is that a number of users submits parallelly all the jobs simultaneously. Then system has to take care of the simultaneous jobs, and it has to one after another resolve it, so that the user may not knowing it that there is a slight delay, but it is working at a very fast rate because of the clock of the system. So therefore, once the example, if you talk about a ECG recorder system, where the body temperatures or body conditions have been monitored by the ECG, at the same time, the system has to record it and store it in the memory, and for future processing, it has to be sent on online to the doctor for necessary actions. So therefore, the ECG is the best example of multitask, where the different parameters have been monitored, has to be stored, has to be processed, has to be taken care of. So therefore, the multiple task system has been such an important task. So here I have shown one small timing diagram where the task 1, I have a time scale T, T1 and T2 are the 2 times. I have 2 tasks has to be performed. Task 1 has been given at T1, and then it takes a time of delta T1. Then it has been going for task 2. So task 1 to task 2, there should be a switching over action from task 1 to task 2. It takes some time. That's called as a delay. That's called a switching speed. Context switch speed I have mentioned here. So afterwards, the task 2 will be taken care of for a delta 2 time, and it will be completed. Therefore, T1, where I presented task 1, by the time T2, there is a small lapse between T1 and T2 in the time. Then after T2 will be taken care of and will be sent for a processing. So therefore, one after another task has been performed here with a slight time delay of switching over time. So if we similarly, what we could see is that the other figure where I have been seeing here is that the white signal. So therefore, the task I is running in the never-ending loop. So second task has to be submitted, task J. But when it is not going on in a never-ending loop, it waits for certain time from the system and what it has to take care of. So the system gives to go for the task J depending upon the conditions fulfilled. If condition is not fulfilled, the system has to take care of the minimum waiting task time, and then it gives a signal for the second task. So this has been very important is that the time control has been taken care of by the operating system to have a synchronism as well as the not have any clash in the operating system for resolving the tasks. So this has been a very important factor where we could see that this task of multitask system can also be given like this, and even if the never-ending loop, the system has to have a control over the things. So therefore, the operating system, when you talk about, there's been a system software or a system firmware designed by the engineer. So system engineer designs the operating system suitable to the needs of the user, and then he built in his program into the memory, which is not corrupted, which is not handled by the user. Or system software engineer can only have the control over the system software. So user will not have any control over the system software. That's what I want to stress here, is that the user-made programs are called as user application programs. So similarly, when I talk about these tasks, when I have a thread or a task as a process, okay? So task can be called as a process because it performs series of operations to get the result. A task means, I said, it is a program. Sequential program has been written in, and it has been taken care of first instruction, second instruction, like that. So first onwards, second onwards, third onwards, fourth. So there should be a sequence as to be followed here. So there should be a link between the instruction 1 to instruction 2, instruction 2 to instruction 3. Therefore, this has to be connected properly. The process does not branch to another process. When a process is under execution, if it cannot call another process into this point, but it has to signal to the other processor that it needs its support or its program. So that's why I said that the process when under execution, or under processing does not branch to another process. This probably will not deviate to other process and execute that and comes back here. Not do it, but it only gives a signaling for a calling the process. Okay. Process can send signal or message to a system. In turn, the system passes to that. Right? Even the signaling, when it has been sending the process under execution to other process, it has to be routed through a system only. So it can directly talk or send a communication directly to the process. Therefore, I have just given one example is that I have a process. I refer this as a parent process. This parent process has been gives a different childs 1, 2, 3, 4 children are there. Therefore, the first children will also have 2 children. So like that. What is happening now? The sequence is parent, first child, then its subchild. Similarly, second children, it's children. So like that. So there should be a threading has to be seen here, and which has been very, very important. That's why I said that the control, this called as controlling phenomena, signaling through top to bottom or from bottom to top. That depends upon how you perform the operation. Okay. So therefore, this one example, what I could see is that the system has to take care of the threads, connectivity between the sub-processes also. I said used a word sub-process. Process is there. Within it, there is another process that's called a sub-process, sub-process, sub-process like that. So there should be threading has to maintain, the control has to maintain from the top to bottom of the processes. Therefore, the task can be called as a program thread, that is no branches in thread are only the endpoints. Therefore, once I start a process, then sub-process, then like that, it has been having no branches here. It is not deviated to the other branch of the other process, but only it goes to an endpoint. Thread is termed as, thread is a term used in Java. Okay, generally, Java has been used, whereas the other language, Pascal and all, they are used a task as a process or a thread. Okay? So that's been very important to see that what is the concept of a thread and a task is been very important to have a control over the sub-processes from the parent process. So if you see the task characteristics of multitasking system, the task characteristics, therefore, a system design in which the application program divides into the tasks should be as per the following guidelines. Okay, while a task can run on the microcontroller CPU at a given instance. So definitely a CPU has to take care of the controls of the task. The task cannot call another task, but it can call the functions to implement certain tasks. So these things I said already is that the if you want to call other task or other process, it has to be done through a functions only. I cannot just call the process as subroutine. The functions has to be called here with these tasks should have an ID. How to identify which task is calling me? So therefore I need to have an identification. A task can generate a signal or a semaphore or a mutex message called inter-process communication. When you talk about inter-process communication, we have to send a signal. So by way of a variable, so that variable has to be acknowledged by the as a message to other process. Therefore, I have to need, if you want to have a two process has to talk each other, then I need to have a message queue which has to be taken care of by the process. So therefore, every process when I want to talk user 1 to user 2, I need to create a message queue. Similarly, user 3 and user 4 wants to talk, I have to have other message queue like that. See, these messages will be put into the queue. So this been very important is that inter-process communication has to be established. Though I said it is user, it is a process communication. It has been there, therefore it has been called as inter-process communication. So IPC we call it. So there are so many algorithms available for this, how to manipulate the communication and how to go for a message transfers has been very important. This is done on finishing certain section of the course of the task. So semaphore is also known as a token or a mutex term derived from the mutually inclusive access. So therefore, we'll see at later stage what is semaphore, how it has been used to send the messages, how it has been establishing communication with other process. Therefore, the process ID is very important to know the which process is going to communicate to which process. Therefore, IDs has to be established for the tasks assigned here. So an IPC used in another task that may be waiting for or may need to take note of the task controlling the scheduling program. So therefore, when a process has been waiting for its turn, then it has to be given an information that how long it has to wait or what is going on, which process is under consideration. Then once this process which has been under execution will be completed, that has to give a signal to the waiting process. So that's been the important here. Apart from that, this is called as a scheduler. So scheduler assigns which process has to be taken care of, because I said in the interrupts a priority has been there. So therefore the scheduler does the task of assigning a list from which the process can be assigned for the PCPU. So this has been important that the scheduler has been taken a vital role here, which does the sequencing of the jobs to the CPU. So I just given a hierarchical side model here, and where I given a layers command language interpreter, environmental data, a statement in command language, okay, typical operation. So file system, you know what is a file is, how to define a file. File is information which has been passed on to the system, written by the program. So therefore, the file system can be viewed in the beginning as an image having certain information, but after decoding the file only, the system will know what is there in the file system. So therefore, the files and devices have been there. Therefore, I can create a file, I can destroy a file, I can open a file, I can close a file, I can read a file, I can write a file. So these are the typical operation where we can perform in the file system. Memory management. So segments, pages. So memory is divided into segments and pages. Therefore, I can read a memory or write memory into the memory and fetch. I can fetch anything from the memory. So these are the memory management things available on operations. Basic I/O, data blocks, read, write, allocate, free. So basic I/O has to be seen here, and data blocks can be read and written into. The kernel is nothing but the center of the operating system. It does the process and processing, and then it also creates semaphores pertaining to the particular ID of the process, and then it has be so therefore these things can be created or destroyed or suspended or resumed or by way of a semaphores called as signal and wait states. Okay, so what you could see here is that the memory management or the CPU have been very important. Unless these things are not there, I cannot perform other operations like the file system storing. Memory, if not there, I cannot store any data segments, data, and etc. So therefore, the hierarchical OS model, operating system model is big. Layer wise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers I have defined. So I should come in other ways that the first one is the kernel, second one is basic I/O, third one is memory management, fourth one is the file system, fifth one is the command language interpreter. So this is the order where I could see that the OS model can be having 5 layers, and which is really very, very important to see that what are the operations we can able to perform is been seen here. So when you talk about tasks, we can have a non-primitive and primitive process. So non-primitive, I said FIFO, first in, first out. last in first out, short jobs first, priority based. So these are the non-primitive, because what happens is first in first out. Once a job enters to the queue, it has to come out just like pipeline. So when water enters to one end, other end, that same water has to come out. So therefore, when the first job enters here, first job has to come out. So that means in between, till the job has been comes out, other job cannot enter into the in between. So that's why it is said non-preemptive. CPU will be busy with that particular process only. It cannot be taken away during the processing. So therefore, the CPU could not be taken out while processing is going on. Is called as non-preemptive. Primitive means the task can be taken away while doing the task. Shortest remaining time, round robin, priority based. These are the examples for a preemptive process. So when you talk about a preemptive process, what happens is I have gone for a job for execution. So in the middle of the task, it needs to have some data. Data is not supplied. Then what it can keep the process there? How long it can keep it there? Till the data comes. But if data has been delayed longer time, then this will be taken out. CPU will be comes out. So again put back into the queue or a list of the processing list. So therefore, the preemptive means where the process is under running for want of any information or a data, a process can be suspended, and that suspended process can put back into the queue once again, so that it can get its own priority for execution. So therefore, shortest remaining time. So when a job service submitted, how it will take is it will take what is CPU time needed for job 1, what is time required for job 2, what is time required for job 3. Among all these things, the shortest remaining time. So when there is a queue there, it will verify how much is the remaining time. And suppose this is a process which has been taken out in between, and how much time is needed to complete this task will be calculated. That's called the shortest remaining time. So the shortest remaining time will be taken care of to go for the CPU execution. So process will be assigned like that. So therefore, the task scheduling, when we talk about, you should think of two things: is that primitive and non-primitive. Primitive means I can take away CPU at any time during the process time, depending on the situation of the system. Similarly, non-primitive means when a task is assigned to CPU, the task should be completed, then only the CPU can take a second task. This is very clear that the clarity between the primitive and non-primitive, and these are when I talk about the FIFO, LIFO, SJ, priority based, and shortest remaining time, Robin. This is called as algorithms, which has been used for scheduling. So I said a scheduler has been very important to sequencing job into CPU. So these schedulers should have these algorithms depending on the situation, which algorithm has to be implemented. It decides and takes care of and executes the program so that this user will be given the results at the fastest time. So that's very important that the operating system now is very effective, and it has been very important to see the operating system which has to take care of the submitted jobs to be executed in what form, how far it is successful in giving the results is very important. Therefore, we expect a user always a fastest execution time of the processes submitted. So therefore, the system should be capable of executing the program given by the user at the fastest time. So this has been the important to see that the real-time system will be taken care of by the operating system so that the user will be satisfied with the performance of the operating system.